Edward Leos. Welcome to Travel Talk, filmed at the Peachtree Rose Marketing Studios and hosted by the Hotel Guide publisher, Edward Leos.
Good morning, everybody. Edward Leos here, publisher of the Hotel Guide and your host of Travel Talk. Really excited about today's edition. Something a little different than we've had in the past, but I actually have Christine Kane, the CEO of Audubon International. Great to have you on the show today, Christine.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. Very happy to be here.
Oh, awesome. It's going to be some great stuff. I know we're going to talk about a little bit about the organization, a little bit about you and some of your travel destinations. But why don't we start with you? I think our guests our listeners always want to know, hey, who are you talking to, Edward? So tell us a little bit about your background, kind of how you got to your role, and then we'll get into a little bit about what Audubon International is and what they actually do in the world around us.
Oh, well, thanks. I actually have always had a deep love of the outdoors and the environment. I was lucky enough to grow up in a rural area in a lot of farm country and, sort of those idyllic childhoods where you can kind of take off on your bike all day and be home for dinner. So, that really connected me to my environment. And at a pretty early age, I guess I would say, I at least had an idea that this would be the area that I would want to work in. And, this is I'm the CEO at Audubon International, and it's the job of a lifetime. I feel like I, spent my whole career getting here and, took a sort of circuitous route, I guess. I've worked in a couple of different areas like recreational trail planning, land conservation, other types of environmental work. But then one of the things I learned was, of course, in the nonprofit world, particularly, if there's a project you want to do, you have to know how to raise the money to go and do that. So I took some time out to go into fundraising full time so that I could become at least somewhat of an expert at that, skilled at that, let's say. And after I spent some time doing that, and I tried fundraising for a number of different types of missions. And of course, the thing that is really important is that you are fundraising for a mission that resonates with you and is important to you. And that's when I said to myself, I need to get back to the environment and work in what really speaks to my heart. So that's how I arrived at Audubon International.
That's awesome. I love that background. I'm a big believer in giving back as well. I think we're put on here, put on this planet to help as much as we possibly can. And I love what you're saying too. You had a path that resonated. You got to find something that resonates with you, because that's the most important thing, is giving back, but also when you love what you're doing, it makes it even a lot better. So you're talking about getting to Audubon International. Why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about the organization, exactly what it is, and maybe some of the great things that are happening, not only now, but maybe even the 2026 that they can expect to hear about.
Well, thanks, because talking about Audubon International is one of my favorite subjects. So, we are a nonprofit organization. Our headquarters is in upstate New York, in Troy, New York. But we have programs all around the world. We currently have members in 34 countries around the world. And a lot of what we do involves voluntary certifications for sustainability, which I'll talk about in a minute. And so that takes us to a lot of different aspects of sustainability. Sometimes it's hard to actually define sustainability for people. So we try to meet people where they are and then help them continue or go further along on the journey. Our mission summary statement is to create sustainable environments where people live, work, and play. And we have 3 different ways that we try to implement that mission, which is through environmental education and technical resources and technical assistance, and then voluntary certifications, which I mentioned. And we have 5 of those 5 subject areas, I guess you would call them. Mm-hmm. One of which, our first program that we started, was called the Audubon Cooperative Sanctuary Program. And that is for properties. Our goal is to work with businesses who own or manage property so they can do it in a more sustainable way. We really felt that was a niche that was being under recognized and not brought to the table in terms of sustainable management and the way that it could impact the environment overall, positively impact the environment. So we started with the ACSP, we call it for short, and worked with a lot of different types of businesses. So that involves anything from like college campuses to corporate office parks, municipal parks, even some cemeteries in there.
Wow.
And then we actually started getting a lot of phone calls from, as it turns out, some golf courses nearby about nuisance wildlife problems, skunks, raccoons, et cetera, at the time. And we realized, here's another huge land-based industry that we hadn't thought about, and I'm sure not very many people had thought about at that time, over 30 years ago. And so we took the ACSP program and added some sections to it that is specifically applied to golf. And so obviously we call that ACSP for golf.
Yep.
And between those two programs, those are still the largest segment of our membership. But since then, we've also added a green hospitality component, a sustainable communities component, which is for municipalities or homeowner associations. Excuse me. And we still have the ACSP for business. Now we sort of talk about them differently, business and golf. And then the other one is a signature, we call it a signature program, which is for larger scale developments or sometimes golf properties too that are adding or creating a larger resort atmosphere. Within the green hospitality program, we do work with everything from standalone hotels and small boutique hotels up to very large resorts and major ownership entities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, it sounds like you got a lot going on there. Well, obviously, you talk about sustainability here in the travel space. It's such a big deal. It's been just on the horizon even more so. So are you seeing organizations really want to focusing on sustainability as they're going and growing their businesses?
Oh, absolutely. I would say, well, if we can say that something good came out of COVID, I think people in general realized the importance of green space and the importance of nature to our lives, and that nature isn't necessarily something that's far away or you've got to go to get nature or be in nature. It can be, the park down the street, the golf course in the neighborhood, or, a resort property with a lot of green space that's available to the public. So we have seen an uptick in interest since COVID across all of our properties, all of our certifications. Mm-hmm. Hospitality is certainly leading the way because I think the traveling public has also become much more aware, perhaps somewhat driven by COVID too, for safety reasons and wellness reasons. But luckily for all of us, that has also branched out into more recognition of the impact of the industry, of our travel, us as travelers in the industry, which has, spawned some new parts, eco-tourism, wellness travel, those sorts of trends. So we are getting more inquiries from those kinds of businesses too now.
Yeah, and I can see that it's been happening a lot through our magazine. Like I said, we've been around for 32 years, and 32 years ago to where we are now, it's almost night and day difference on what we focus on. Wellness and sustainability, experiential travel are just three big things that are happening. And I agree with you. Post-COVID, that was one of the good things that came out of it because people just wanted those ability to be in a space that's called nature. And you're right, nature is stepping outside your house sometimes and just walking around on the grass and grounding and stuff like that. But
right.
That really made us aware of our true blessings, and so that's a good thing there. But one last question on the organization, and then we'll touch to some of the personal questions. But how long does it normally take for some of the certification processes to happen?
Oh, well, good question. It varies depending on the sort of certification. If you are looking at either the cooperative sanctuary program for business or even for golf, those are existing businesses that are in operations And so that's relatively quick because you can answer the questions, get the information together, prepare your case study, etc. So that's the shortest time path, I would guess, to certification. Obviously, if you're doing something in our signature program and it's a large development and it's just starting, then it's sort of tied to how long it takes for the development to get done.
Got it.
And in the Sustainable Communities program, that's all of our projects, our certifications are really driven by scores of supportive individuals at the properties. And so I would say the communities sometimes have an edge because they could put together a committee and people who are there full time and, living there full time, and they really want to make this happen. So, and then it varies the different things that we look at, of course, in those certifications, and whether they have levels within them. We like to look at the ACSP as not entry level, but something to get you started. It has one level. You get certified. You meet the 6, either 4 or 6 steps within the program, and then you can be certified. And of course, we want to help you continue and do more and different things as you're moving along. When you recertify, all of our programs, you recertify every 3 years. But the opportunity to do outreach and education, which I would just like to say that 2 of the things that we really think set our programs apart from others, aside from the scientific foundation that underlines everything, is the fact that we are a third-party validator. So it's not all based on self-attestation. We actually come out and visit and verify that you're doing the things that you say you're doing. And that gives us a chance to get to know the property and the operations and make suggestions and feed resources that are actually helpful to what it is that you're trying to do at your property or your business. And the second thing is outreach and education, because we want everyone to be inspired at whatever level they can do. So if you may be a traveler, tourist who goes to a sustainably managed resort, and then you see some of the materials they have out about what they're doing, or maybe you take a tour or participate in an outing, and you may say to yourself, I could do some of these things. I could do native plantings at my house. I can use different ways. I could cut down on water use at home. And, also we want to be inspiring other businesses to consider this same sort of management on their properties.
That's awesome. I love what you're doing there. And that goes back to the experiential type of travel. And speaking of travel, let's switch over to the personal side of things. I always love asking our guests these 2 questions because we're a travel podcast, but tell us, what are some of your favorite travel destinations you've been to? And then do you have any bucket list places that you want to go to?
Oh, good questions. For some of my favorite places that I've been, and actually, fun 2 things are popping into my head, and I wouldn't have necessarily thought of it this way, but one is Venice. We've been to Venice and absolutely loved Venice. And of course, that's very water-based with all the canals. Yeah. And then we also took a great trip to Norway, which now I'm realizing, has fjords, and we were able to travel up into the country via the fjord. So I think I must like water-related travel. And one place we have on our bucket list actually is Iceland. We would like to get to Iceland and not see any, exploding volcanoes really up close, but I think it's a very exciting landscape. And the people there, from what I know and what I've read, really are tied closely to the earth and their environment. So I think that would be a great place to visit.
Those are all great places. Obviously, Venice is on my bucket list, so I'm hoping to get out there and see that firsthand. I think out of the 100+ episodes, you're one of the first people to say Norway as their bucket list. So that's kind of unique. That's kind of a cool thing. But it's been, I think it's just amazing. We got a minute or so left, but if people want to find out more about the organization, what is the best way for them to do that?
Well, of course, you can visit our website, which is www.audubon.international.org. And we have a lot of information there. Since you're doing the travel guide and hotel interest, if people are particularly interested in our green hospitality program, the person who runs that program, his name is Greg Poirier, and you can reach him at greg@audubоninternational.org. And of course, you can also reach me at christine@audubоninternational.org.
That's awesome. So we got the contacts for everybody here. But Christine, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show today, learning a little bit more about the organization and the great things that you're doing. And I think they got the right leader there because you love what you're doing. Your passion comes across in everything that you're saying here. And I'm really excited about having you on the show today. And I think this might not be the only time you're going to be on. I think we might have some other things that we could do down the line. So it's been a pleasure having you on our Travel Talk podcast today.
Well, thank you for those very nice comments. And I would love to come back. Let's talk about that in the future.
Sounds like a plan. Hey, to all of our listeners, readers, and followers, you know the drill. Follow us at thehotelguide.com. Subscribe and like on our YouTube channels and Spotify. We will have Christine's contact information and Audubon International's information in our show notes so you can easily find them. But like we always like to say, travel, make memories. And until next time, everybody, take care.
Bye.